Hey everyone, it's Synth Designer back again with another video. Today we are going to do a classic sound design video for Chillsynth. We are just going to explore Chillsynth sound design in all its glory. We're going to look at synths and pads and basses. I really don't know where this is going to go. I just wanted to just have fun and experiment for a bit and to show you guys that it's really all about experimentation and there's no real rules. I mean, there's obviously guidelines that you follow for trying to get a kind of chill synth sound, and I'll explain some of those principles to you, but we're not going to follow any actual hard and fast rules on which shapes to use, with synths to use, whatever. We're just going to explore different sounds, and hopefully something good will come out of it. Now, I will be using Serum 2, however, I really strongly believe that these principles can be used across any synthesizer. Obviously, if you're using a synth that won't have any effects at all or has limited effects, then you might have to use some third-party effects. But I could guarantee you will get very, very close if you're using something like Vital, or even if you're using more analog synths. You will find that they are really great for chill synth music. They're actually better in a lot of cases than Serum 2. However, I'm just doing this because I know a lot of you have Serum 2, and it's just a great tool to use in general. The other reason is because I am working on a new preset pack. Not sure when it'll be out. It might take a little while, but it will be called the Chillsynth Collection, and I'm going to show you some of those sounds from it soon, and of course in this video. But we're going to create a lot of things from scratch as well. The only thing I did that is not going to be from scratch, well, I actually created already, is this pattern. So let's just take a look at it. Very simple pattern here. And even though I tested this out with a preset that I am just going to show you from scratch from the init preset to start. So let's just turn this down because I know it's going to be very abrasive. So let's get going here. Okay, very simple, annoying pattern with a basic saw, but very quickly here, we're going to just adjust this envelope here. So let's just play it out, and then we're going to adjust things as we go. So we want a plucky sound. Already there, it sounds much better. The next thing we're going to do is just put a filter on it here. And we're going to adjust this envelope, and we are going to connect it to the cutoff. And we're just going to make it a little bit of a steeper slope here. And then I'm going to add a few more voices unison. And I think I'm going to just up the attack a bit. And you can already tell this is getting very chill synthy. And you can see how many parameters we already have that could be automated too. So there's a bunch right there that could be automated. And even this sustain feature, or sorry, not the sustain, the decay is a great way to get some automation going. That is just a classic chill synth wub right there. All we did was have a saw, a filter, we connected the envelope to the cutoff, and then after that, it's up to you. You could add some reverb and delay, of course. So let's do that. Just going to decrease the size a little bit. And then we're going to add some delay as well. So that's a great Chillsynth wub. We could add that into our pattern to start. And I have a already ready-made preset here, and we could go to that one and we could test them out. I actually have 3 wubs that I will include into this preset pack. So let's start with the distorted wub. And I have some macros here that you could fiddle with. So very plucky if we want, or very attacky. Very kind of staccato, or a little bit less so. More distortion. And as you can see, I added this noise here, which is a great feature as well. So you'll have fun with these, and then we could try some others. The standard wub here, again, has these macros. Or we could go to the wide wub, and you could tell there's much more kind of that reverb effect here, and some chorus as well, just meant for it to be bigger. Again, if you do not have Serum, please copy as many of these settings as you'd like. As you can see, the main features I added this dimension, chorus, and reverb, but the main features are usually kind of reverb, delay. If you want to add chorus or any sort of kind of widening effect, feel free to make it bigger. It's not quite as standard as like the standard wub that I showed, or the distorted wub, which has that nice distorted feel to it, but the main items that you could see as well for automation, decay, cutoff, and the attack, those all come into play if you want it more plucky, you want it a little bit more staccato or less so, and then how much of that cutoff do you want to be opening up or not. Those are the main features of the Chillsynth wub. But now that we have that, we can decide what to do next here. Let's go with a bass, and there's a few ways you could approach the bass here I'm going to show you. So let's open up another instance of Serum 2 here, and let's try this to start out with. Let's just go into pattern 1 into the actual pattern. We're just going to copy and paste the bottom notes here, so of every chord. And what we're going to do is just create a bass around this. So we're not going to do anything fancy here, but we're going to just make sure that our bass goes along with the chords. So going to pattern 2 and opening Serum 2 here, we're just going to paste this, and we're going to do something simple here, and we'll see how it works. Maybe it works, it doesn't, don't know. But I'm just going to take my sub oscillator here and take this off, and we're going to go down a couple octaves. And I think I'm just going to add a little sustain. And we don't need the filter on quite yet, but what I'm going to do is add this saw wave for a little bit of texture. And I'm gonna up this. And we're gonna add this. So this is a very simple way of adding a bass to a song. You have a little bit of that harmonic content with the saw and the thick low end here with the sub. But we're going to see how this all sounds together. It sounds fine on its own, but maybe it doesn't work great. And we can adjust the cutoff and everything afterwards as well to see how it works. So let's play the song. I'm actually going to change the first pattern as well to a different wub. I don't want that wide one in this case. I'm going to go to the distorted one actually. So to me, that's a nice bass for certain occasions, but let's kind of play around with the ADSR. I'm really just kind of getting a feel here. And one thing we could do is open up an EQ. So if in this case, I like what I've created here in both circumstances, but I want to see where these actually sit on the harmonic spectrum here. And I won't be able to just hear that on its own, but to me, they're not really gelling at all. They're just kind of playing side by side. So let's open this up. And we're going to see with an EQ here, where does this synth sit? Okay, that's good. It's taking up some space here, obviously, but we can always cut that off. We don't want any bass content, obviously, from our synth, especially not low end. And then we're going to check out how this sits. So all of our bass is going on here, which is great. So this is working well, but let's see if we open up this cutoff a bit and add this back in. The other thing we can do is play around with kind of a plucky envelope as well. I kind of like it being wider as well in this situation. Okay, so we have that kind of a bass, which is cool. You can obviously change it up to whatever you want. I really want to show you that you can have a kind of plucky bass to complement it. Always check on your EQ to see how they sit together. In this case, they're sitting well. I'm not sure if it's working out in the vibe that I want. So I'm going to switch it up, and I have a pre-made bass as well. And this one is a Reese bass. And in Reese bass cases, we have to change up how we construct the notes. So it's going to be still pretty simple. Rather than having a plucky kind of sound, we are just going to make these full notes here because it's a sustained bass. So we don't want a plucky sound for that. And you could hear how it sounds. Classic kind of Reese, but a lot of Reese basses really go nicely in Chillsynth, I find. So we're going to add that in very simply again. And let's see how this sounds together. Okay, I like that. I prefer the kind of Reese style basses for Chillsynth. I feel like they go nicely in the background and add a lot of ambiance to the songs. And it's all about that kind of atmosphere to Chillsynth songs, right? That's the main part, in my opinion, when you're forming a Chillsynth song. You got to get that atmosphere right. And because we have this nice chord progression we already got going, the next step will be kind of a pad to complement. We're going to run the pad kind of more in the background because we have that main synth going. And let's just maybe start EQing a little bit. It's up to us how we want to EQ, but let's get a pad going. So we have our next instance of Serum, and we're going to go to a new pattern, but we're actually going to go back and look at the chords for pattern 1. So we have the chords here, and we're just going to copy them over to pattern 3 on the new instance of Serum. And we're just going to extend these out and then essentially glue them together. It's going to look a little wonky at the start. That's okay. So these go out here. And then these will be shortened here. Very simple chord progression. And we're going to fiddle around with the chords a little bit too, because we have to remember that the chord voicing also affects our sound design. So let's get going with a nice pad here. And again, we're going to add this just into the pattern, and we're going to feel things out for a bit. I know roughly how I want to think about this pad, but I don't know for sure how it's going to come out. And I just want to be in the background a little bit, just adding a nice atmosphere. So let's go into this instance of Serum. Obviously, it's going to be init preset. So let's go to something interesting. We're not going to create maybe the most incredible pad as we just experiment here, but let's go with a saw again, and let's just up the voices. We already know the chords work, so we don't have to worry about that. Get the detune lower. Filter. The filter is going to be key because we want a nice pad sound, right? But we don't want an abrasive sound. We want something just in the background. And then let's just listen to it on its own first. Okay, very simple. And we're going to attach an LFO to the fine tune. We can even play around with this ADSR a little bit. We definitely want that fine knob going back and forth and creating that detunement. Maybe a little bit of effects here. This is where we could go a little bit bigger. And we could go even crazier with these. So if we want to mess around a lot with the detunement, we can. There's multiple ways. I just showed you one with the fine tune. Obviously there's the detunement here. We can also mess around with it in other ways. So let me show you one other way. We'll go into the matrix and let's just go LFO 2. And we are going to attach it to the global and main tuning. And let's see what happens when we just leave it as normal and start moving with this. Doesn't quite work. But if we go just a little bit down, basically to the minimum, and we start moving this down, we can slow down this rate as well. And we can take another LFO. Pretty abrasive, but we can think about adding that as well. So we have another way of altering the sound. We could even do this a little bit more subtly here. Really getting that detunement, that kind of instability into the sound. Of course, we can turn on this feature as well, the warp feature, and there's a whole bunch of ways of warping things now. We're just going to keep it simple. Let's do bend plus minus. You can see already how much it's affected by movement. We're going to turn another LFO here. Turn this up a bit. And we're going to slow this right down as well. So we have a whole bunch of ways of adding distortion, detunement, just crazy ways of bending things. It's all adding up to some instability. Now we haven't heard it with the song, so let's turn that on and see how we can match things up. Turn this down a bit. Again, let's turn on the EQ, get rid of some of the low features. You can see not a lot of low information there, which is great. We don't want it. This is something we can automate. So there we have 3 sounds there, basically created from scratch. The Reese bass I didn't create, but if we go back just quickly, if you're not familiar with how to create a Reese bass, it's basically a saw wave, add some voices of unison, take it down a couple octaves because it's a bass, and then have full sustain on it and a filter. That's basically it. You can see there's no effects. Very simple. Don't need anything. This could be obviously made in any synth. You don't need anything here that you can't create in another synth. So we have a bunch of sounds already. I'd like to play with one thing here. Let's go to pattern 1 and just play with the chord voicing. So if you're not familiar with that, this is a standard chord voice. So it means that the lowest note is your root note, and then afterwards we have the middle third, which is either a minor or a major, In this case, this is a minor chord progression. So we have a minor, two majors, and then another minor. But we can flip these or inverse them in any way we want. And I'm just going to listen to only the pattern. I want to play around with this. So again, here's the standard. And then if we move it up, it adds a little bit of dimension to it. What if we took this down an octave? I like that. But we can fill these in. So you could use any of these three notes. And we could actually make this even more interesting. So rather than just plain old major and minor chords, we can add a seventh to it. So in this case, let's just add a seventh. So this is a D minor. So this would be a C. So we just have to copy and paste this to a C. And this is A sharp or B flat. So again, this would be A, I believe. And then we have a C. So this would be a B. And then in this case, we have... I should probably actually make these the correct notes because I'm going to get in trouble that way. So, or the same pattern at least. So let's go back to the B here. And then we're going to add this pattern here. And this is going to be a B. So this will be an A, not a B. And then this will be G. Let's listen to this, how this sounds. So I changed that note to an A here. So let's take a look at how this sounds together. So you can hear those seventh notes really come through in that synth. That bouncy, plucky synth, whereas the third pattern, we didn't need to change at all because the main chords haven't changed, or the main chord notes. That's the beauty of seventh chords. You don't need to change the underlying kind of fundamental notes. And I prefer this chord voicing that we have now. It's a little bit more spread out. It feels a little bit more airy, which is what we really want out of these chords. I also like it a little lower in the octave. If we were to go back up the octave, we can try that. Let's just play it. Yeah, I find that this sounds much better. Again, let's go back and experiment with the other wubs here. Again, we have all these to automate. So it's sounding real good. I just wanted to practice creating a lead as well. So let's just create a lead for this. we're going to cheat a little bit. We are just going to add this new pattern here to our playlist. And what we're going to do is just go back to pattern 1 and borrow some of those notes and see what we could get. We don't have to use them all. We don't have to use them in the same way, but we're just going to cheat. And rather than trying to think of some sort of amazing melody, the point of this is to practice sound design, not necessarily song creation. If a song comes out of it, amazing, but the main purpose is more about getting that sound that you want out of it. So we're just going to start with these notes, just kind of play around. And just play around and see what we get out of it. So I'm going to just create these nice kind of like long sustained notes using the chords that we have here. So I'm going to eliminate some of the chords. I know which notes work now just by creating them. And we're going to see how this works. First, we're going to turn this down a bit. And don't worry about making this a great melody again. So we have that there. Very basic, but we can make some nice sounds from this. So let's just hear again. So we want something pretty sustained here, and that's totally fine. With leads, I really like to kind of push the envelope when it comes to what kind of shapes we use. Just find something cool and funky. And really just experiment with the envelopes. So now we're getting somewhere here. And play around with distortions. We're getting really Daft Punky all of a sudden from this Chillsynth tutorial. But that's okay. That's the point of this. We're just experimenting. We're going to turn on the multi-band. Some weird distortion going on here, but it's cool. And this is just one lead. You could imagine like maybe an arp going through this too. So let's just create an arp now that I think about it. So we got this cool lead going here. Very simple again. You could see what I did here. I had this kind of weird shape, and you might not be able to get this exactly in another one, another synth, but you could get pretty close. It's very similar to a saw. Effects are super simple. Multi-band compression you could add in a bunch of different ways. Same with this kind of distortion, this diode distortion. Obviously, this is specific to Serum in this case, but you can find other ways of distorting sounds, right? So let's just do one more sound. Let's create an arp here. And the easiest way to create an arp, we are going to just copy the first pattern. Or maybe we just copy the fourth pattern here because it's, or sorry, the third pattern, because it is simpler. And we are going to keep it simple in this case. Again, we're doing sound design here, not necessarily a song. So we're going to create a new pattern, another instance of Serum. And we are going to go into this pattern. Great, we have the right instance Serum. We're going to just copy and paste. And then we are going to do Alt-A, and we're going to play it out. First, let's just switch the pattern. Apologies in advance, this is going to sound annoying as heck at the beginning. Let's just actually turn this down before we start, because I know this is going to be loud. But we're going to get to a sound very quickly. So Alt-A, let's play the pattern first. Cool. We're going to keep it simple because we're going to try to create the sound design first. We're going to turn this down, and we're actually going to do kickstart on this right away because I know this is going to sound good with kickstart. And we're going to add kickstart a bunch to other items as well. And let's just play around a little bit maybe. Again, let's find some cool shapes. This is going to be a plucky sound anyway, just by default. But let's see here. And we'll go to analog again. This is really starting to sound like Daft Punk, isn't it? Well, we got somewhere. This is Chillsynth, I don't care. Let's play it all together. Okay, so in this case, I would love to just make this kind of a bigger sound. And again, we need to mix this a little bit more to make this all cohesive. Let's bring this up in the mix maybe a tiny bit more. I don't think I want it that. I want a bit of a softer sound. So with arps, there's a bunch of ways that you could do this. In this case, I really just want kind of a soft sound in the background. And I swear I didn't mean for this to be Daft Punk in the end, but that's what we're getting. But I think you guys get the idea here that we're just kind of playing with sounds more than anything. And you could pump up the reverb too. So if you want more of kind of like a drone type of sound almost. Arps is also a great way where you can use distortion. Obviously that's a little much, but it really adds texture in this case. Again, let's take out some of these lows here. And in another situation here, basic mixing, the reason why I kicked this up an octave here was this is competing with all the other sounds. This is not. You could really hear it's coming through a lot better. And sitting on its own, right? We can also add some kickstart to this bass maybe. Let's see how that would sound. That is not what I meant. Lastly, let's just add a couple drums just for the sake of it. Why not? Let's start with a kick maybe. And we're gonna keep it just completely basic, but it's gonna add to the sound. It really is up to you what kind of kick you want here. I always like this Oliver packs. In that case, not as good. And then let's add one snare here to cap it all off. There you go. Now we have a real Daft Punk Chillsynth song here. So there we go. We create a whole bunch of Chillsynth sounds here. I give you the principles on how to create kind of a bass, a pad, a synth, an arp. You have the tools you need to at least get started if you don't know how to start. Hopefully you found this helpful. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Obviously the song isn't what we're meant to be creating here. We're really just focusing on the sound design elements and how to create the sounds that we want. There's so many ways you could go about doing things. I guarantee you if I rearrange this thing, it wouldn't sound like Daft Punk at all, but I could use the same sounds. The Chillsynth vibes are certainly there, and there's just so many ways of going about this to make the sounds that you want. Again, hopefully you found this helpful, and I'll see you all next time.